Hi, today I like to share about surviving a dysfunctional family. My mother conceived me in Nigeria, and when she was 5 months pregnant with me, she traveled back to Sri Lanka and she gave birth to me in a village in northern Sri Lanka called Jaffna. I was 5 months old when my father returned back from Nigeria, and I was baptized at this time. And also, my father took my mother for a holiday to Singapore for 5 days. During that 5 days, I was sent to my paternal family to live with. And when my mother returned back after the 5 day trip from Singapore, I refused to return back to her. I totally forgot her, and I even called my paternal aunt mother, Amma. So that was the first rejection my mother felt from me. And since that relationship has never became close. Like she still feel that wound which I have created when I was 5 months old, and she suffers even today because I refuse to call her mother and I refuse to go back to her. And I think after 1 year, I don't know exactly the time length I returned back to my maternal family, but there was a big dispute or fight between the two families, um, because of me. And at last, I was gone back to my mother, but we never had a relationship. And we always lived as strangers. And my father also was absent in my life, and he returned back into my life. Or I first met him. It was when I was 5 years old. He returned back from Nigeria, and then he worked in Sri Lanka, but he hardly visited home. So, when I was 8 years old, my mother took, because of the Indian army, IPK, who came to Sri Lanka because of the war. My mother took me to my father, and we lived in the same room where my father was working. But my father leaves the room before I got up, and he came back around 7 8, even though he was working just next door. Or I didn't have an opportunity to see him, and at night he was there, but he never had any communication. And my father's friend, who used to come around after work around 5 o'clock and take me out for a walk and all, and my father failed to provide that emotional nature which was needed for my life. So he always remained as an absent father, and my mother always remained as a emotionally unavailable mother, not taking care of me. When I was in the village, my maternal aunt and the relatives and the maids and everybody took care of me. But when I moved with my mother, there was so much of neglect, even physically. I remember as a kid, one time there were boils on my head, and I was not taken care. And one time, my maternal aunt, when I visited the village, she just looked into the head, and she was shocked to see what was happening. So, that much of physical neglect I have to go through in my life. And when I was in the village while staying with my grandfather and mother and my self, my mother always, everybody was scared of my grandfather. He was a very strict person, because of the paranoid everybody had on him. I was not allowed to run, make noise. I was kept very as a like a obedient child. Not I was not allowed to ask questions. I never had a choice. They will just the food was given to me or whatever. And even when I went to a shop, whatever they give, I didn't have had to ask, I need that, I want this, right? Or shout, scream. I never allowed to express myself. So that was the very hard part in my life, that totally my emotional, unavailability, emotionally not able to express myself. And I was a very sick child, as because whenever my father showed up to the village, he I always got sick. So when I was going through therapy as an adult, we understood how that child couldn't handle the pressure from home, and it has to break that to survive. So sickness was part of my life to survive my life. And today, when I look back, like, how can a child survive not able to express her own self, own needs, own feeling, and not able to be herself? Totally her own identity, authenticity, everything were taken up. And there was no power within myself to do what I like to do, to create what I like to create. And everything was just ordered or directed by the adults around me. And as a child, I never had anything to do with my own self. So it was a great loss for me as a child, not having my own words and own feeling and nothing, And now as an adult, I lack asking questions, expressing my needs, sharing my feelings. So all these I have to educate myself, relearn to share and say and bring my voice back to its state. And it is a journey, even to make choices in life. Because as a child, I had a cousin who was 4 years older than me, and during Christmas, we both wore the same dress, same, pattern. So even for clothes, there was no choice. I just have to wear whatever is given. And my favorite color is blue. But as a child, I have never seen anything in blue at all. So even like my favorism, my desires, my needs, my likes, these are all ignored and neglected. So for me to, I have to rebuild myself in what I like, what I want to wear. All these are new, because it's so easy for me to say order what you order. It's so easy. But for me to take a menu card and order what I like to do, it takes so much energy, courage, but I'm doing it because it's me at the end who is living in this life and who needs to do or say what I want, I like. But as a female child, I never had this opportunity growing up in a dysfunctional family, because they themselves never had the opportunity as a woman to express themselves. So it was passed from generation to generation, being quiet as a woman. So now I have to break these patterns, the generational pattern, to bring my voice alive, to be who I am. So it's always great pleasure to share about my journey with you. Thank you.